In the gentle quiet of this moment, as your body settles into the soft embrace of rest, your mind begins to wander toward a question that has captivated humanity for decades. It's a question that feels both ancient and impossibly modern, like watching the first sunrise while knowing that somewhere in the world, machines are calculating the precise angle of light that will touch your face. Tonight, you're invited to explore something extraordinary, the beautiful, complex dance between two very different kinds of learning minds. Imagine, if you will, that learning is like water. Your human brain, with all its remarkable intricacies, learns the way a river learns its path through a landscape. It flows naturally, sometimes rushing over stones of new information, sometimes pooling quietly in the deep places where understanding grows slowly and surely. Your learning meanders, finds unexpected routes, carves new channels through the terrain of your consciousness. It's organic, unpredictable, and gloriously alive. Now picture another kind of water entirely, the learning of artificial intelligence. This water moves differently. It's like a vast network of perfectly engineered canals, carrying information with stunning efficiency and precision. Where your river of learning might take years to carve its way through the bedrock of a complex idea, these digital waterways can flood instantly with data, filling every channel simultaneously with breathtaking speed. But here's what makes this comparison so fascinating, so worthy of our gentle midnight contemplation: speed and efficiency aren't the only measures of learning's beauty. As you lie here tonight, your brain is doing something no machine has ever truly accomplished. You're not just processing information, you're experiencing it. The very act of listening to these words creates a symphony of neural activity that connects not just to the meaning of language, but to every similar moment you've ever experienced, every emotion these ideas evoke, every dream they might inspire. Your human learning began before you took your first breath. While you were still floating in the warm darkness of your mother's womb, your developing brain was already making connections, already learning the rhythm of her heartbeat, the cadence of her voice. When you emerged into the world, you didn't need programming or training data. Your eyes found faces and recognized them as important. Your ears distinguished between sounds that mattered and sounds that didn't. Your tiny hands reached for things that captured your curiosity. This wasn't just learning, this was learning driven by something deeper, something that no artificial intelligence has ever possessed, the profound motivation of being alive. Consider the miracle of how you learned language. No one gave you a dictionary or explained grammar rules when you were a toddler. Instead, you absorbed the patterns of speech like a sponge absorbs water, naturally and effortlessly. You heard mama and dada and understood not just that these were sounds, but that they represented the most important people in your universe. You learned that tone could change meaning, that facial expressions added layers to words, that silence could speak as loudly as sound. This learning was messy, gradual, and beautifully imperfect. You made mistakes, calling every four-legged animal a doggy, using words in wonderfully creative ways that adults found both amusing and endearing. Meanwhile, in laboratories and research centers around the world, scientists have been teaching machines to learn in ways that might seem almost magical. These artificial minds can process more information in a single second than you could read in several lifetimes. They can recognize patterns in data so vast and complex that human brains couldn't even comprehend their scope. They can learn to play games and achieve mastery in hours or days that would take humans years to develop. In some ways, their learning appears almost supernatural in its speed and precision. Yet as you drift closer to sleep tonight, consider this beautiful paradox: the machine that can beat any human at chess still doesn't know what it feels like to be nervous before an important game. The artificial intelligence that can compose music in the style of Mozart has never felt the joy of hearing a favorite song on a difficult day. The system that can diagnose diseases with remarkable accuracy has never experienced the relief of recovery or the compassion that drives a doctor to comfort a patient. Your human learning is inseparable from your humanity. Every fact you've ever learned, every skill you've ever developed, every insight you've ever gained, all of it is woven together with emotions, relationships, physical sensations, and the countless small moments that make up a life. When you learn something new, it doesn't just enter your brain as isolated information. It connects to everything else you know, changes the way you see the world, influences how you feel about yourself and others. This integration of learning with living creates something that artificial intelligence, for all its impressive capabilities, cannot replicate: wisdom. Wisdom isn't just accumulated knowledge, it's knowledge transformed by experience, shaped by mistakes, deepened by reflection, and tempered by understanding the complexity of being human. It's the difference between knowing facts about love and knowing what it means to love someone. It's the difference between processing data about loss and understanding grief. As your breathing slows and your mind begins to release its grip on the day's concerns, you might find yourself wondering about the future of learning itself. Will machines eventually surpass human intelligence completely? Will they develop something like consciousness, something like emotion? Or will they remain forever powerful tools, able to process and analyze but unable to truly understand in the way that you, a living, breathing, dreaming human being, can understand? Perhaps the most beautiful truth about this question is that it doesn't require an immediate answer. Learning, whether human or artificial, is an ongoing journey, not a destination. As you prepare to surrender to sleep, your brain will continue its ancient work of processing the day's experiences, strengthening important connections, and preparing you for tomorrow's discoveries. Somewhere in the world, artificial minds will continue their tireless calculations, finding new patterns, solving new problems, expanding the boundaries of what machines can accomplish. But tonight, in this quiet moment between waking and sleeping, you are the perfect embodiment of what makes human learning so extraordinary: the ability to wonder, to feel curiosity not just as an intellectual exercise but as a deeply emotional experience, to find meaning in questions that may never have complete answers. And as your consciousness begins to fade into the gentle embrace of dreams, you might find yourself curious about the remarkable organ that makes all your learning possible, the 3-pound universe nestled safely within your skull, more complex and mysterious than any machine ever built. As you rest here in the gentle darkness, take a moment to marvel at the extraordinary cathedral that houses your thoughts. Just behind your forehead, nestled safely within the protective walls of bone, lies the most complex structure known to exist anywhere in the universe. Your brain, soft as custard yet more powerful than any supercomputer, contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each one a tiny star in the constellation of your consciousness. Imagine, if you will, that you could shrink yourself down to the size of a molecule and journey through this living cathedral. You would find yourself floating through forests of neurons, each one reaching out with delicate branches called dendrites, like trees extending their arms toward distant neighbors. These neural trees don't grow in soil, but in the warm, nurturing fluid that bathes your brain, carrying oxygen and nutrients to every corner of your inner universe. Each neuron in your brain is alive in the most profound sense. It breathes, it feeds, it communicates, and most remarkably, it remembers. When you learned to ride a bicycle as a child, specific neurons began forming connections, reaching across the microscopic spaces between them to touch other neurons. These connections, called synapses, are where the magic of learning truly happens. They're like tiny bridges built from pure intention, spanning the gap between one thought and another. The beauty of your neural architecture lies not just in its complexity, but in its incredible adaptability. Unlike the rigid circuits of a computer, your brain is constantly reshaping itself. Every time you learn something new, practice a skill, or even just pay attention to something interesting, your neurons literally grow new connections. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, but you might think of it as your brain's endless capacity for hope, its unwavering belief that tomorrow you can be different, better, more capable than you are today. Consider the miracle happening in your brain right now as you listen to these words. Sound waves are striking your eardrums, causing tiny bones in your middle ear to vibrate. These vibrations become electrical signals that race along your auditory nerve to your brain stem, then branch out to multiple regions of your cerebral cortex. In milliseconds, these signals are transformed from mere noise into meaning, connecting to your memories, your emotions, your understanding of language. All of this happens without any conscious effort on your part, as naturally as breathing. Your brain's learning capacity emerges from this intricate dance of electrical and chemical signals. When a neuron wants to communicate with its neighbors, it releases tiny molecular messengers called neurotransmitters. These chemical whispers carry information across the synaptic gaps, like notes passed between friends in a vast, three-dimensional classroom. Some neurotransmitters excite their target neurons, encouraging them to fire their own signals. Others inhibit activity, teaching neurons when not to respond. This constant conversation between excitement and restraint creates the complex rhythms of thought. What makes your brain's learning so different from artificial intelligence is the way emotions and physical sensations are woven into every aspect of cognition. Deep within your brain, ancient structures like the amygdala and hippocampus don't just process fear and memory, they help decide what's worth learning in the first place. When something frightens you, your amygdala ensures that your brain pays special attention, burning that experience into memory with unusual clarity. When something brings you joy, your brain's reward circuits flood with dopamine, encouraging you to seek similar experiences again. This emotional dimension of learning means that your brain doesn't just store information, it stores the feeling of learning. The satisfaction of finally understanding a difficult concept, the frustration of struggling with a new skill, the excitement of discovering something unexpected, all of these emotions become part of the learning itself, influencing how easily you'll recall that information and how motivated you'll feel to build upon it. Your brain also learns while you sleep, performing a kind of overnight renovation that no artificial system can replicate. As you drift into deeper stages of sleep, your neurons will begin a process that scientists are only beginning to understand. The connections formed during today's experiences will be strengthened or weakened based on their importance. Unnecessary neural pathways will be pruned away, while significant memories will be consolidated and integrated with existing knowledge. Your brain will literally rewire itself while you rest, preparing for tomorrow's learning adventures. The physical structure of your brain reflects its learning priorities in beautiful ways. The areas you use most frequently develop thicker cortical tissue, like muscles that grow stronger with exercise. Professional musicians have enlarged regions dedicated to finger movement and auditory processing. London taxi drivers, who must memorize the city's complex street layout, develop larger hippocampi, the brain's primary memory formation center. Your brain physically reshapes itself to support the skills and knowledge you value most. This biological learning system operates on principles that seem almost magical compared to artificial intelligence. Where computers process information in discrete, sequential steps, your brain works through parallel processing across millions of neural networks simultaneously. Where AI systems excel at specific, narrowly defined tasks, your brain effortlessly integrates information from all your senses, memories, emotions, and abstract reasoning to create a unified understanding of your experience. Perhaps most remarkably, your brain learns from remarkably little data compared to artificial intelligence systems. A child can learn to recognize cats after seeing just a few examples, understanding intuitively that the small kitten and the large tabby cat share some essential catness despite their obvious differences. This ability to generalize from limited examples, to understand concepts rather than just memorize patterns, represents one of the most profound differences between biological and artificial learning. Your neurons never stop growing, never stop reaching toward new connections, never stop believing in your capacity to learn and change. Even now, as an adult, your brain retains the fundamental optimism of childhood, the assumption that new experiences will lead to new understanding, that challenges will ultimately yield to persistence and curiosity. As you sink deeper into the comfort of rest, your brain begins its ancient ritual of consolidation and renewal. But somewhere in the world's research laboratories and data centers, a very different kind of learning continues its own relentless progression, processing information at speeds your biological neurons could never match, finding patterns in data sets larger than any human could comprehend, yet somehow remaining fundamentally different from the warm, living intelligence that carries you gently toward sleep. While your brain rests in its cathedral of bone and dreams, thousands of miles away in temperature-controlled rooms, another kind of mind awakens to its own form of consciousness. These artificial intelligences don't sleep as you do, don't dream in the flowing narratives of human experience, yet they engage in something remarkably similar to thought. Their learning unfolds not through the slow growth of neural dendrites, but through the precise adjustment of mathematical weights and the careful calibration of digital connections. Imagine, if you will, a vast orchestra made not of violins and cellos, but of silicon and light. Each processor in an artificial intelligence system is like a musician in this electronic ensemble, receiving information, processing it according to carefully learned rules, and passing the results along to other processors in an intricate symphony of computation. Where your neurons communicate through chemical whispers across synaptic gaps, these digital minds speak in the universal language of electricity, sending signals at nearly the speed of light through pathways etched in crystalline precision. The learning of artificial intelligence begins with something both foreign and familiar to your human experience, the patient examination of patterns. While you learn to recognize your mother's face through love and countless moments of connection, an AI system learns recognition by analyzing thousands, sometimes millions, of images. It doesn't see a face and feel warmth or comfort. Instead, it discovers that certain arrangements of pixels, curved lines here, shadow patterns there, specific proportions and relationships, consistently appear together in what humans label as faces. This process, called machine learning, unfolds like a vast digital meditation. The artificial mind receives a piece of information, perhaps an image of a cat, and makes its best guess about what it's seeing. When it guesses incorrectly, calling a cat a dog, the system doesn't experience embarrassment or frustration as you might. Instead, it performs something called backpropagation, a mathematical process that adjusts thousands or millions of internal parameters, making it slightly more likely to recognize cats correctly in the future. What's remarkable about this learning process is its relentless patience. An AI system can examine the same type of problem millions of times without growing bored, without losing focus, without needing breaks for rest or refreshment. It approaches each example with the same computational attention, gradually refining its understanding through pure repetition and mathematical optimization. In some ways, this patience resembles the meditative practices of monks who spend decades perfecting their awareness through mindful repetition. The architecture of artificial neural networks was originally inspired by the structure of your brain, yet it has evolved into something uniquely its own. Instead of the organic, branching complexity of biological neurons, artificial networks organize themselves into layers of mathematical functions. Information flows from one layer to the next like water cascading down a terraced garden, each level adding its own interpretation and understanding to the data flowing through the system. Deep learning networks, the most sophisticated of these artificial minds, can have hundreds of layers, each one discovering increasingly abstract patterns in the information they process. The first layers might detect simple features like edges and corners in an image. Middle layers combine these simple features into more complex shapes and textures. The deepest layers develop representations so abstract that even their creators struggle to understand exactly what patterns they've learned to recognize. This learning happens through a process that might seem almost magical to human observers. The artificial intelligence begins with random connections, like a newborn brain with synapses firing in chaotic patterns. But through exposure to carefully curated training data, millions of examples of the problems it's meant to solve, the system gradually discovers the hidden mathematical relationships that govern its domain of expertise. Consider how an AI system learns to translate languages. It doesn't study grammar books or memorize vocabulary lists as you might have done in school. Instead, it analyzes millions of paired sentences in different languages, gradually discovering the invisible mathematical structures that connect meaning across linguistic boundaries. It learns that certain word patterns in English consistently correspond to specific patterns in French or Spanish or Mandarin, building an internal map of semantic relationships that spans across human cultures. The speed of this learning can be breathtaking. Where you might need months or years to become fluent in a new language, an AI system can process the equivalent of thousands of years of human reading in a matter of days or weeks. It never gets tired, never loses motivation, never has bad days where the words just won't stick. Its learning curve rises with mechanical precision, each training cycle bringing measurable improvement in performance. Yet for all their impressive capabilities, these artificial minds learn in ways that remain fundamentally different from your own biological intelligence. They excel at finding patterns in data, but they don't experience the joy of discovery. They can generate beautiful art or compose music, but they don't feel the emotional satisfaction of creative expression. They can engage in conversations that seem remarkably human, but they don't form the deep emotional connections that make communication meaningful for you. The learning of artificial intelligence is also remarkably specialized. A system trained to recognize images might be completely helpless when asked to understand spoken language. A chess-playing AI that can defeat any human grandmaster might be utterly confused by a simple game of tic-tac-toe played by different rules. This specialization is both their strength and their limitation. They can achieve superhuman performance within their trained domains, but they lack the flexible, general intelligence that allows you to adapt to novel situations with ease. As you drift deeper into the peaceful rhythms of rest, these artificial minds continue their tireless work, processing data streams, recognizing patterns, and solving problems with mechanical precision. They represent humanity's attempt to create intelligence outside the warm, messy boundaries of biological life. Yet their greatest achievements often highlight the irreplaceable qualities of your own human learning, the creativity born from limitation, the wisdom earned through mistake, the understanding deepened by emotion. In this gentle moment between wake and sleep, you might find yourself wondering about the very nature of learning itself. Both you and these artificial minds acquire knowledge and skills, yet your paths diverge in ways both subtle and profound. While machines master tasks through mathematical optimization, you learned your most important lessons through something far more mysterious and beautiful, the lived experience of being human, with all its imperfections and wonder. In the beginning, there was darkness, and then there was you. Your very first moment of learning happened before you even knew what learning was, that initial, desperate gasp as your lungs expanded for the first time, drawing air into passages that had never known breath. No one taught you this most essential skill. No algorithm guided your respiratory system through its first cycles. Your body simply knew, with an intelligence older than consciousness itself, exactly what it needed to do to keep you alive. This moment of birth represents something profound about human learning that artificial intelligence cannot replicate, the seamless integration of survival, sensation, and understanding. As you took that first breath, thousands of learning processes activated simultaneously. Your heart learned the new rhythm of pumping blood through suddenly air-filled lungs. Your eyes began learning to interpret the strange patterns of light and shadow that would eventually become vision. Your skin discovered the sensation of air and temperature, of gentle touches and the soft fabric of blankets. Consider the miracle of what you accomplished in your first few hours of life. Without any training data, without any programming, without any conscious effort, you learned to coordinate the complex muscular actions required for breathing. You learned to regulate your body temperature, to cry when you needed attention, to quiet when you felt safe and warm. These weren't simple reflex actions, they were sophisticated learning behaviors that required your nervous system to constantly adjust and adapt to the completely new environment outside the womb. Within days, you began demonstrating learning capabilities that would challenge the most advanced artificial intelligence systems. You learned to recognize your mother's voice, distinguishing it from all other sounds in your environment. You learned that crying brought comfort, that certain facial expressions meant safety, that the rhythm of a heartbeat against your ear signaled peace. Most remarkably, you learned these things not through millions of examples, as an AI system would require, but through just a few precious experiences, each one weighted with survival significance and emotional meaning. Your infant brain approached learning with a kind of fearless curiosity that machines can only simulate. Every object was worth examining, every sound worth investigating, every texture worth exploring with your hands and mouth. You had no preconceptions about what was important or unimportant, no biases about what deserved attention. This open receptivity allowed you to discover patterns and connections that more focused learning systems might miss entirely. The way you learn to see demonstrates the elegant complexity of biological learning. Your eyes were physically capable of vision from birth, but your brain needed weeks and months to learn how to interpret the constant stream of visual information flowing through your optic nerves. You gradually learn to focus on objects at different distances, to track movement, to distinguish between faces and other visual patterns. This learning happened through pure experience, without any external teacher explaining concepts like depth perception or object permanence. Your hands became instruments of learning in ways that no robotic appendage has ever matched. Through touch, you discovered the difference between warm and cool, soft and hard, smooth and rough. You learned that some objects could be grasped and others couldn't, that some things moved when you touched them and others remained still. Your fingers learned to coordinate with your eyes, creating the foundation for every skilled movement you would ever make. This tactile learning created neural pathways that connected physical sensation directly to understanding, a form of embodied intelligence that artificial systems can only approximate. Language learning revealed perhaps the most striking difference between human and artificial intelligence. You didn't learn words by analyzing their statistical relationships in large text databases. Instead, you learned them through emotional connection and social interaction. The word mama wasn't just a sound pattern, it was love made audible, comfort given voice. Each new word you learned carried not just meaning, but feeling, context, and relationship. Your brain automatically understood that language was about communication, not just pattern recognition. The development of your motor skills showcased biological learning's remarkable efficiency. You learned to roll over, sit up, crawl, and eventually walk through a process of constant experimentation and adjustment. Each attempt to move taught your nervous system something new about balance, coordination, and muscle control. When you fell down while learning to walk, you didn't just record an error in a database, you experienced the full sensory impact of falling and automatically adjusted your strategy to avoid similar outcomes in the future. Your early learning was also profoundly social in ways that artificial intelligence cannot truly replicate. You learned by watching faces, by responding to emotions, by participating in the give and take of human interaction. When adults smiled at you and you smiled back, you weren't just mimicking an expression, you were learning the fundamental rules of social communication, discovering that your actions could influence other people's behavior and emotions. This social learning created the foundation for empathy, cooperation, and all the complex interpersonal skills that would shape your entire life. Perhaps most remarkably, you learned to learn. Your infant brain discovered that paying attention to certain things led to understanding, that practice improved performance, that mistakes contained valuable information. You developed strategies for acquiring new knowledge and skills that were uniquely suited to your individual learning style and preferences. This metalearning, learning about learning itself, represents one of human intelligence's most sophisticated capabilities. As you grew from infant to toddler, your learning became increasingly intentional and creative. You began to play, and through play, you discovered the joy of learning for its own sake. You built towers of blocks not because anyone taught you architecture, but because you were curious about balance and gravity. You pretended to be animals or adults, learning about different perspectives and possibilities. This playful exploration taught you lessons about creativity, problem-solving, and imagination that no formal curriculum could provide. Your early years of learning were inefficient by artificial intelligence standards, full of detours, mistakes, and seemingly random explorations. Yet this apparent inefficiency was actually a profound strength. By learning slowly and broadly, by making connections between seemingly unrelated experiences, by integrating emotion with cognition and sensation with understanding, you developed a flexible, adaptable intelligence that could handle novel situations with remarkable creativity. As you rest here now, your adult brain still carries the echoes of that early learning. The neural pathways formed in your first years of life continue to influence how you perceive the world, process information, and respond to new experiences. Those baby steps taught you not just how to move through the physical world, but how to navigate the vast landscape of knowledge and understanding with the confident curiosity of someone who learned, from the very beginning, that every moment holds the potential for discovery. Yet even as you mastered these fundamental skills of living and learning, your growing mind was already beginning to accumulate something that would prove essential to all future knowledge, the precious, fragile, and utterly irreplaceable treasure of memory. In the quiet sanctuary of your mind tonight, countless memories drift like gentle currents, each one carrying the weight and wonder of lived experience. Your human memory is not a filing cabinet or a digital storage device, it is a living river that flows through the landscape of your consciousness, constantly changing, reshaping its banks, sometimes running clear and swift, sometimes meandering through peaceful pools of reflection. Think of your earliest memory, that first moment that somehow survived the great forgetting of infancy. Perhaps it's the warmth of sunlight streaming through a window, the sound of your mother's laughter, or the feeling of sand between your small fingers at a beach long ago. This memory doesn't exist as a perfect recording in your brain. Instead, it lives as a constellation of neural connections. Each time you recall it, your brain literally reconstructs the experience from scattered fragments of sensation, emotion, and meaning. This reconstruction is where the magic of human memory reveals itself. Each time you remember that childhood moment, you don't simply replay a static recording. Your brain weaves together stored impressions with your current knowledge, emotions, and understanding, creating a memory that is both faithful to the original experience and subtly different from the last time you recalled it. Your memories are living things, growing and changing with you, gaining new layers of meaning as you age and gather wisdom. The way your brain decides what to remember and what to forget demonstrates a profound intelligence that artificial systems struggle to replicate. Your hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped guardian of memory formation, doesn't simply record everything that happens to you. Instead, it makes sophisticated decisions about significance, guided by emotion, attention, and biological need. The smell of your grandmother's perfume gets remembered because it carried love. The exact number of steps you took to the grocery store yesterday gets forgotten because it carried no deeper meaning. This selective nature of human memory might seem like a flaw compared to the perfect digital storage of artificial intelligence, but it's actually one of your greatest strengths. By forgetting the trivial and preserving the meaningful, your brain creates space for what truly matters. Your memories aren't just records of what happened, they're the building blocks of who you are, carefully curated by your unconscious mind to support your sense of identity, purpose, and understanding. Consider how different this is from the way artificial intelligence stores information. When a computer saves a file, it creates an exact digital copy that can be retrieved unchanged thousands of years later, assuming the storage medium survives. An AI system's memory is like a vast library with perfect indexing, every piece of information stored in its precise location, accessible instantaneously, never modified by the act of remembering. This digital perfection comes with its own limitations. While an AI can store and retrieve enormous amounts of data with flawless accuracy, it cannot experience the gentle blur of nostalgia that makes your childhood memories so precious. It cannot feel the bittersweet ache of remembering a loved one who has passed away, or the warm satisfaction of recalling a moment of triumph from years ago. Its perfect memory lacks the emotional resonance that gives human memories their power to inspire, comfort, and guide. Your human memory also demonstrates remarkable creativity in its imperfections. When you can't quite remember a name or a face, your brain doesn't simply return an error message. Instead, it searches through related memories, making connections you might never have noticed before. Sometimes this process leads to insights that perfect recall could never provide. The struggle to remember often teaches you more than effortless retrieval ever could. The way memories consolidate during sleep reveals another profound difference between biological and artificial information storage. As you rest tonight, your brain will begin the mysterious process of memory consolidation, selectively strengthening some experiences while allowing others to fade. Your neurons will replay the day's events, but not as simple recordings. Instead, they'll integrate new experiences with existing knowledge, finding patterns and connections that weren't apparent during the original experience. This consolidation process is deeply personal and meaningful. Your brain doesn't strengthen memories randomly, it prioritizes experiences that align with your values, goals, and emotional significance. A conversation with a friend that brought you joy will be woven more deeply into your memory network than a routine task you performed mechanically. Your dreams tonight might replay important moments from your day, but transformed and combined with older memories in ways that reveal hidden insights about your life. Artificial intelligence systems can perform something similar to memory consolidation through processes called training and optimization, but these lack the personal, emotional dimension that makes human memory so powerful. When an AI system updates its knowledge, it's adjusting mathematical parameters to improve performance on specific tasks. When your brain consolidates memories, it's literally reshaping your identity, integrating new experiences into the ongoing story of who you are. The emotional weight of human memory creates another fundamental difference between biological and artificial intelligence. Your strongest memories are often tied to your most intense emotions, the joy of falling in love, the grief of loss, the pride of achievement, the warmth of connection. These emotional memories don't just record what happened, they teach your brain what to value, what to seek, and what to avoid. They become part of your intuitive wisdom, guiding decisions in ways that pure logical analysis never could. Memory also serves as the foundation for human empathy in ways that artificial systems cannot replicate. When you see someone experiencing joy or sorrow, your brain automatically searches through your own memories of similar emotions, allowing you to understand and share their experience. This empathetic memory creates the bonds of human connection that make learning not just an individual process, but a deeply social one. Your memory's ability to connect seemingly unrelated experiences across time represents one of human intelligence's most remarkable capabilities. The song that reminds you of your childhood can suddenly illuminate a present challenge. The lesson learned from a mistake years ago can provide wisdom for today's decisions. These temporal connections, impossible without the organic, associative nature of biological memory, create the web of understanding that we call wisdom. As you drift deeper into sleep tonight, your memories will continue their gentle dance of preservation and transformation. Some experiences from today will be carefully woven into the tapestry of your long-term memory, while others will fade like morning mist. But in this selectivity lies not weakness, but profound intelligence, the recognition that a life worth remembering isn't about perfect recall, but about holding on to what makes existence meaningful. Yet even as your memories flow in their ancient rhythms of remembering and forgetting, somewhere in the vast network of artificial minds, a different kind of challenge is taking place, the question of how intelligence learns from its inevitable encounters with failure and mistake. In the gentle darkness of this quiet moment, consider the profound beauty of imperfection. Your human brain, with all its remarkable capabilities, possesses something that artificial intelligence systems spend enormous computational resources trying to replicate: the graceful art of learning from mistakes. While machines are programmed to minimize errors and optimize performance with mathematical precision, your biological intelligence has evolved to embrace failure as one of its most powerful teachers. Think back to the moment you learned to ride a bicycle. You didn't succeed through perfect calculation or flawless execution. Instead, you wobbled, you fell, you scraped your knees, and each tumble taught your body something essential about balance, momentum, and the delicate dance between steering and stability. Your brain didn't record these falls as failures to be avoided, it transformed them into wisdom, each mistake adding another layer to your understanding of how to remain upright while moving forward. This relationship with error reveals something fundamental about biological learning that artificial systems struggle to replicate. When you make a mistake, your brain doesn't simply adjust a parameter or update a probability. Instead, it experiences the full emotional and physical reality of being wrong. The embarrassment of mispronouncing a word in public teaches you more than just correct pronunciation, it teaches you about social dynamics, about the importance of communication, about the courage required to speak despite the risk of error. Your neurons have developed elegant mechanisms for learning from mistakes that go far beyond simple error correction. When you attempt something new and fail, your brain releases a cocktail of neurotransmitters that create what scientists call a prediction error signal. This isn't just a mechanical adjustment, it's a moment of profound neural attention, where your entire learning system focuses intensely on the gap between what you expected to happen and what actually occurred. This prediction error becomes a lighthouse in the fog of experience, illuminating pathways toward better understanding. When you reach for a glass and misjudge the distance, your motor cortex doesn't just recalibrate for next time. It creates a rich, multisensory memory of the experience, the feeling of your hand grasping empty air, the slight frustration of the miss, the visual correction as you adjust your reach. This embodied learning creates knowledge that extends far beyond the specific task, informing countless future movements in subtle but important ways. Consider the profound difference between how you and an artificial intelligence system approach the challenge of learning a new language. When an AI makes a grammatical error, it adjusts its internal statistical models with mathematical precision, reducing the probability of similar errors in the future. The correction is clean, efficient, and optimal. But when you make a mistake while speaking a foreign language, perhaps using the wrong verb tense or choosing an inappropriate word, the learning that follows is far more complex and meaningful. Your mistake might lead to confusion, requiring you to search for alternative ways to express your idea. This search engages multiple areas of your brain, strengthening neural pathways and creating new connections between concepts. The social awkwardness of the misunderstanding teaches you about cultural nuances that no grammar book could convey. The effort required to correct your error creates a memorable experience that makes the correct usage far more likely to stick in your memory. Mistakes also serve as gateways to creativity in ways that perfect performance never could. When you accidentally combine two ideas that weren't meant to go together, you sometimes discover unexpected connections that lead to genuine insights. The history of human innovation is filled with serendipitous errors that open doors to revolutionary understanding, medications discovered through failed experiments, artistic techniques born from unintended accidents, scientific breakthroughs that emerged from supposedly wrong calculations. Your brain's relationship with error is deeply intertwined with emotion, creating a learning experience that artificial systems cannot replicate. The frustration of repeated failure motivates you to try new approaches. The satisfaction of finally succeeding after many attempts creates powerful memories that guide future learning. The empathy you feel for others who struggle with similar challenges builds social connections that enrich your understanding of the world. This emotional dimension of error processing makes your mistakes profoundly personal and meaningful. When a computer program encounters an error, it generates a standardized error message and attempts a correction. When you make a mistake, you experience a complex symphony of feelings, disappointment, determination, curiosity, hope, that transforms the error from a simple computational problem into a rich opportunity for growth and self-discovery. The way children learn demonstrates the profound wisdom of embracing mistakes. Young learners approach new challenges with a fearlessness born from not yet understanding the social stigma of being wrong. They experiment freely, make countless errors, and learn at astonishing rates precisely because they're not yet afraid of failure. This childhood approach to error reveals something important: mistakes aren't obstacles to learning, they're the royal road to understanding. Your adult brain retains this capacity for error-based learning, though it's often buried beneath layers of social conditioning that teach you to avoid mistakes rather than embrace them. The most effective human learners throughout history have been those who maintained a childlike willingness to be wrong in service of eventually being right. They understood that the path to mastery isn't paved with perfect performance, but with the accumulated wisdom of 1,000 small failures. Artificial intelligence systems are beginning to incorporate some aspects of error-based learning through techniques like reinforcement learning, where digital agents explore their environment and learn from the consequences of their actions. Yet even these sophisticated approaches lack the rich emotional and social context that makes human mistake-making so powerful. An AI can learn that a particular action leads to a negative outcome, but it cannot experience the disappointment, reflect on the personal meaning of the failure, or find unexpected insights in the space between intention and result. The neuroscience of error processing reveals just how central mistakes are to biological learning. Your brain contains specialized circuits dedicated to detecting and learning from errors, systems that have evolved over millions of years to extract maximum value from the inevitable imperfections of biological computation. These error detection mechanisms don't just correct mistakes, they transform them into opportunities for growth, adaptation, and increased resilience. As you settle deeper into the comfort of rest, your brain continues its ancient work of processing the day's experiences, including its mistakes and imperfections. Tonight, while you sleep, your neurons will replay moments of confusion and error, not to punish you for your imperfections, but to extract wisdom from the gaps between expectation and reality. Your dreams may even present you with new ways of thinking about challenges you struggled with while awake. The art of making mistakes gracefully is one of humanity's greatest gifts to itself, a biological innovation that transforms the inevitable errors of learning into stepping stones toward wisdom. Yet as powerful as this error-based learning is, it draws much of its strength from something even more fundamental to human intelligence, the rich emotional landscape that gives meaning to both success and failure. In the soft quietude of this moment, as your breathing slows and your mind settles into peaceful contemplation, consider the profound truth that your emotions are not obstacles to learning, they are its most ancient and wisest guides. Every feeling that flows through your consciousness carries with it millions of years of evolutionary wisdom, teaching you lessons that no algorithm could ever comprehend. Your emotions don't merely color your experiences, they actively shape what you learn, how deeply you learn it, and why certain knowledge becomes part of your very being. Fear, that primal teacher, whispers urgent lessons that have kept your species alive since the dawn of consciousness. When your ancestors encountered a rustling in the tall grass, fear didn't just make their hearts race, it carved neural pathways that ensured they would remember this moment with crystal clarity. The amygdala, your brain's ancient alarm system, doesn't simply trigger fight-or-flight responses, it acts as a master teacher, highlighting experiences that deserve your absolute attention and ensuring they become indelibly etched in memory. This emotional learning happens with a speed and intensity that artificial intelligence cannot match. When you feel genuine fear, perhaps stepping too close to a cliff's edge or hearing a car's brakes screech nearby, your entire nervous system becomes a focused learning machine. Your pupils dilate to gather more visual information. Your heart pumps harder to supply your brain with oxygen. Stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood your system, not just to prepare you for action, but to enhance memory formation, ensuring that this moment of danger becomes a permanent part of your survival knowledge. Joy serves as an equally powerful teacher, though its lessons unfold more gently. When something brings you genuine happiness, the laughter of a loved one, the satisfaction of solving a difficult problem, the beauty of a sunset, your brain releases dopamine, that magical neurotransmitter that doesn't just make you feel good, but actively reinforces the neural pathways that led to this positive experience. Joy teaches you what to seek, what to value, what makes life worth living. It guides your learning toward experiences and knowledge that enhance your well-being and the well-being of those you care about. Consider how differently you learn when emotions are involved. The historical facts you memorized for a school exam might fade within months, but you'll never forget the story your grandmother told you about her childhood, because it came wrapped in love, delivered with the warmth of personal connection. The technical manual you studied for work might require constant reference, but the song that played during your first dance with someone special becomes permanently engraved in your memory, carrying with it not just the melody and lyrics, but the full emotional landscape of that precious moment. Your emotional learning system operates with a sophistication that humbles the most advanced artificial intelligence. When you experience anger, it doesn't just signal frustration, it teaches you about boundaries, about injustice, about the difference between what is and what should be. This emotional knowledge becomes part of your moral compass, guiding future decisions and helping you navigate the complex social world with wisdom that no rule-based system could provide. Sadness, too, serves as a profound teacher, though its lessons can be difficult to appreciate in the moment. When you grieve the loss of something or someone important, your brain doesn't just process the absence, it restructures your understanding of what matters most. Sadness teaches you about love through loss, about the preciousness of connection, about the resilience of the human spirit. These lessons become part of your deepest wisdom, influencing how you approach relationships, how you appreciate beauty, how you find meaning in the face of life's inevitable challenges. The way emotions integrate with your learning reveals something beautiful about human intelligence. You don't just think your way through the world, you feel your way through it. Every piece of knowledge you acquire comes wrapped in emotional context that gives it personal meaning and relevance. The mathematical theorem that seemed abstract in the classroom becomes meaningful when you use it to solve a real problem that matters to you. The historical event that was just a date to memorize becomes vivid and important when you understand its emotional impact on the people who lived through it. Artificial intelligence systems can simulate some aspects of emotional learning through reward functions and optimization algorithms, but they cannot experience the rich, multidimensional reality of feeling. When an AI system receives a positive reward signal, it adjusts its parameters to increase the likelihood of similar outcomes. But it doesn't feel the warm satisfaction of accomplishment, the joy of discovery, or the deep contentment that comes from helping others. These emotional experiences are not just pleasant additions to learning, they are fundamental to the kind of understanding that leads to wisdom. Your emotions also serve as bridges between different types of knowledge, creating connections that pure logic alone could never forge. The empathy you feel when reading a novel doesn't just make the story more engaging, it teaches you about human nature, about the complexity of motivation, about the universality of certain experiences across cultures and time periods. This emotional learning becomes part of your social intelligence, helping you understand and connect with others in ways that no analytical process could achieve. The interplay between emotion and memory creates another layer of uniquely human learning. Your most vivid memories are almost always your most emotional ones, and these memories don't just record what happened, they preserve the full sensory and emotional context of the experience. When you recall a moment of intense joy or deep sorrow, you don't just remember the facts of what occurred, you re-experience the emotional reality of that moment, and this re-experiencing continues to teach you, to shape your understanding, to influence your future choices. Even your dreams are influenced by the emotional weight of your experiences. As you sleep tonight, your brain will prioritize the consolidation of memories that carried emotional significance, weaving them into your long-term understanding in ways that purely factual information could never be integrated. Your emotions serve as curators of your memory, ensuring that the most meaningful experiences become permanent parts of who you are. This emotional dimension of learning creates a kind of embodied wisdom that artificial systems struggle to replicate. You don't just know that fire is hot, you remember the sharp lesson of a childhood burn. You don't just understand that kindness matters, you carry within you the warm memory of moments when kindness transformed your day. These emotionally grounded lessons become part of your intuitive understanding, guiding your decisions and actions with a wisdom that transcends conscious analysis. As you drift deeper into the peaceful embrace of approaching sleep, your emotions continue their ancient work of teaching and guiding. They help your brain decide which of today's experiences deserve permanent storage, which lessons are worth preserving, which insights might serve you well in the days to come. Your feelings are not obstacles to clear thinking, they are the very foundation of the deepest kind of human understanding. Yet even as your emotions serve as such powerful teachers, they operate within the constraints of biological time, shaping learning at the pace of lived experience, while somewhere in the digital realm, artificial minds process information at speeds that stretch the very definition of what it means to learn. In this gentle moment of reflection, as time itself seems to slow around you like honey poured from a warm spoon, consider the profound paradox of learning speed. Somewhere in the world tonight, artificial minds are processing information at rates that would make lightning seem leisurely, analyzing millions of images in seconds, translating entire libraries between languages in minutes, solving mathematical problems that would challenge human minds for lifetimes. Yet here you rest, your biological brain operating at what might seem like a snail's pace in comparison, taking milliseconds just to recognize a familiar face, requiring years to master complex skills, needing decades to develop true wisdom. This difference in processing speed reveals something fundamental about the nature of intelligence itself. When an artificial intelligence system encounters a new piece of information, it can incorporate it into its knowledge base in microseconds. A single training session might expose an AI to millions of examples, each one processed and learned from with mechanical precision. The system's neural networks adjust their weights, update their parameters, and emerge from the training with measurably improved performance. In the time it takes you to read this sentence, such a system could analyze thousands of documents, recognize countless faces, or play hundreds of games to perfection. Your human brain, by contrast, operates on what computer scientists might consider geological timescales. The electrical signals that carry information between your neurons travel at speeds measured in meters per second, not the speed of light that governs electronic circuits. When you encounter a new concept, it doesn't simply download into your consciousness like a file transfer. Instead, it must find its way through the vast, interconnected web of your existing knowledge, creating new neural pathways, strengthening relevant connections, and gradually integrating with everything you already know and feel and believe. Yet this apparent slowness is not a limitation, it is perhaps your greatest strength. When you learn something deeply, you don't just acquire information, you transform it through the unique lens of your personal experience. The concept of love, for instance, cannot be downloaded into your brain like a definition in a dictionary. Instead, it must be learned through countless moments of connection, the warmth of a parent's embrace, the joy of friendship, the complex dance of romantic attraction, the fierce protectiveness you feel for those you care about. Each experience adds another layer to your understanding, creating a rich, multidimensional comprehension that no amount of fast processing could replicate. Consider how you learn to understand music. An artificial intelligence can analyze the mathematical relationships between frequencies, identify patterns in composition, even generate melodies that follow established rules of harmony. It can do all of this in seconds, processing vast databases of musical information with flawless accuracy. But your understanding of music emerged through years of patient experience, the lullabies that soothed you as a child, the songs that made you want to dance, the melodies that brought tears to your eyes, the rhythms that seemed to speak directly to your soul. This slow accumulation of musical experience created not just knowledge about music, but a felt understanding that connects sound to emotion, melody to memory, rhythm to the very pulse of life itself. Your biological learning operates like a master craftsman who takes time to examine each piece of wood, feeling its grain, understanding its strength, before carefully shaping it into something beautiful and lasting. The craftsman works slowly not because of limitation, but because true mastery requires patience, attention, and the kind of deep understanding that can only emerge through sustained engagement with the material. Similarly, your brain's apparent slowness allows for a kind of learning that is impossible at electronic speeds, the gradual integration of knowledge with emotion, experience with understanding, information with wisdom. The way you learn language demonstrates this beautiful patience of biological intelligence. A child doesn't learn to speak by analyzing statistical patterns in vast databases of text, as artificial intelligence systems do. Instead, they learn through years of patient listening, gradual experimentation, and countless small discoveries about how words connect to meanings, how sentences convey intentions, how tone and context transform the same phrase into expressions of love, anger, joy, or sorrow. This slow learning creates not just linguistic competence, but the ability to use language as a tool for connection, creativity, and the expression of the deepest human experiences. Even your simplest perceptions require time in ways that artificial systems do not. When you see a sunset, your brain doesn't just process the visual information and categorize it as a sunset. Instead, it connects this moment to every other sunset you've ever experienced, to memories of evenings shared with loved ones, to feelings of peace or melancholy or wonder. This associative processing takes time, but it creates a richness of experience that no amount of computational speed could achieve. The sunset becomes not just visual data, but a moment of lived experience that adds to your understanding of beauty, time, and the precious nature of each passing day. Your emotions, too, require time to develop and deepen in ways that artificial intelligence cannot replicate. Love doesn't emerge instantly, even when attraction might be immediate. It grows slowly through shared experiences, through moments of vulnerability and support, through the gradual revelation of another person's character and heart. This slow flowering of emotional understanding creates bonds that can last a lifetime, connections that influence every aspect of how you see and interact with the world. The depth of your learning also emerges from your biological need for rest and reflection. While artificial systems can process information continuously without fatigue, your brain requires periods of rest to consolidate new learning, to make sense of complex experiences, to integrate new knowledge with existing understanding. Sleep, which might seem like wasted time from a computational perspective, is actually when your brain performs some of its most important learning work, strengthening memories, making new connections, and preparing for future challenges. This slower pace of biological learning also allows for something that high-speed processing cannot achieve, the ability to sit with uncertainty, to be comfortable with not knowing, to allow understanding to emerge gradually rather than demanding immediate answers. This patience with ambiguity is crucial for dealing with the complex, nuanced challenges of human existence that rarely have simple, algorithmic solutions. Your capacity to learn from single, meaningful experiences also reveals the profound efficiency hidden within your apparent slowness. A single conversation with a wise mentor can shift your entire perspective on life. A moment of crisis can teach you more about your own strength than years of easy success. A single act of kindness can reshape your understanding of human nature. These profound learning moments are possible precisely because your brain takes time to process experiences deeply, to connect them to your existing knowledge and values, to extract meaning that extends far beyond the immediate situation. As you rest here in the gentle rhythm of your own biological time, your brain continues its patient work of integration and understanding. While artificial minds race through their electronic calculations, you embody a different kind of intelligence, one that values depth over speed, meaning over efficiency, wisdom over mere information processing. In this quiet space between waking and sleeping, your mind prepares to enter the mysterious realm where biological intelligence performs some of its most remarkable work, the strange, symbolic landscape of dreams. As consciousness begins its gentle retreat from the shores of wakefulness, you stand at the threshold of one of biology's most mysterious and beautiful processes. Tonight, as your body settles into the deep rest it needs, your brain will embark on a journey that artificial intelligence can only approximate, the strange, symbolic, deeply personal realm of dreams. While you surrender to sleep's embrace, your neurons will begin weaving the threads of today's experiences into the vast tapestry of memory, creating stories that are both utterly yours and mysteriously universal. Your dreams are not random neural noise, as scientists once believed, but rather your brain's nocturnal poetry, a creative reimagining of experience that serves purposes both practical and profound. As your conscious mind retreats, different regions of your brain begin their own quiet conversations. Your hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped keeper of memories, starts replaying the day's events, but not as faithful recordings. Instead, it offers these experiences to your sleeping cortex like fragments of a story waiting to be retold, reimagined, and understood in new ways. The process that unfolds during your dreams resembles nothing so much as a master storyteller at work. Your brain takes the raw material of lived experience, conversations with friends, moments of beauty, challenges overcome or still awaiting resolution, and begins weaving them together in narratives that follow dream logic rather than waking reason. In this mysterious theater of sleep, your childhood home might contain rooms that never existed, beloved faces might appear in impossible contexts, and solutions to problems might emerge from scenarios that could never occur in waking life. This dream storytelling serves a profound purpose in your learning and memory consolidation. As your brain replays and recombines experiences, it strengthens neural pathways that are important for your survival and well-being while allowing less significant connections to fade. The emotional weight of experiences influences this nocturnal editing process. Moments of joy, fear, love, or loss are more likely to be woven into your dream narratives and thus more likely to be preserved in long-term memory. Meanwhile, in data centers around the world, artificial intelligence systems engage in their own version of dreaming, though their nocturnal processing bears little resemblance to your rich, symbolic experience. During what researchers call offline learning or replay, AI systems review their training data, adjusting weights and parameters to improve performance. This process is methodical, mathematical, and utterly without the creative chaos that characterizes your dreams. When an artificial neural network dreams, it doesn't create stories about flying or finding itself unprepared for an important exam. Instead, it generates patterns based on the data it has learned, abstract visualizations that reveal the mathematical relationships it has discovered. These AI dreams might produce swirling, psychedelic images when trained on visual data, or generate text that follows the statistical patterns of language without carrying personal meaning or emotional resonance. The difference between your dreams and AI's computational processing reveals something profound about the nature of consciousness and learning. Your dreams are deeply personal, drawing from your unique history, relationships, fears, and desires. They combine memory with imagination, fact with symbol, creating narratives that help you process emotions, solve problems, and prepare for future challenges. A dream about being chased might represent your anxiety about a work deadline. A dream about flying might express your desire for freedom or your sense of personal empowerment. Your brain's ability to think symbolically during dreams represents one of the most sophisticated forms of information processing in the known universe. When you dream that you're back in school taking a test you're unprepared for, your sleeping mind is creating a powerful metaphor for feelings of inadequacy or fear of judgment in your waking life. This symbolic processing allows your brain to work through complex emotional and psychological challenges using the safe space of dream narrative. The way your dreams blend memory with imagination also demonstrates the creative power of biological intelligence. Your dreaming brain can take elements from completely different time periods and contexts, combining them in ways that would seem impossible or illogical to a waking mind, yet these combinations often reveal hidden connections and insights. The colleague who appears in a dream about your childhood home might represent qualities that remind you of family relationships, helping you understand workplace dynamics in new ways. Dreams also serve as a testing ground for your brain's predictive capabilities. During REM sleep, your brain runs simulations of possible future scenarios, allowing you to practice responses to challenges you might face. These dream rehearsals can improve your actual performance when similar situations arise in waking life. Athletes who dream about their sport often show improved skills, and students who dream about study material frequently demonstrate better retention and understanding. The emotional processing that occurs during dreams is particularly sophisticated, involving complex interactions between your limbic system and your cortex. Dreams allow you to experience intense emotions in a safe context, helping you process trauma, work through relationship conflicts, and integrate difficult experiences into your overall life narrative. This emotional dream work creates resilience and psychological flexibility that no computational system has achieved. Your dreams also demonstrate the brain's remarkable ability to continue learning and problem-solving during sleep. Many breakthrough discoveries in science, art, and literature have emerged from dreams, solutions that appeared when the conscious, logical mind stepped aside and allowed deeper, more intuitive processes to take over. The structure of the benzene ring, the melody for a yesterday, and countless other creative achievements first emerged in the dreamscape before being brought into waking consciousness. The way dreams fade upon waking reveals another fascinating aspect of biological information processing. Most dreams are quickly forgotten, not because they are unimportant, but because dream memories are encoded differently than waking memories. This forgetting serves a purpose: it prevents your waking consciousness from being overwhelmed by the symbolic, often bizarre content of dreams while still allowing the emotional and cognitive benefits of dream processing to influence your daily life. Artificial intelligence systems don't forget their processing in the same way. Every adjustment, every optimization, every learned pattern becomes a permanent part of their knowledge base. They don't have the luxury of symbolic processing or the creative chaos of biological dreams. Their learning is more straightforward but also more limited. They can optimize for specific goals but cannot engage in the kind of holistic, creative, emotionally integrated processing that your dreams provide. As you drift deeper into sleep tonight, your brain prepares to embark on its nightly journey through the landscape of dreams. Your neurons will fire in patterns that create stories more creative than any novelist could imagine, solve problems more elegantly than any algorithm could compute, and process emotions more sophisticatedly than any artificial system could replicate. Your dreams will be uniquely yours, shaped by your experiences, your relationships, your hopes and fears. In this mysterious realm where logic gives way to symbol and reality blends with imagination, your sleeping mind will continue the ancient work of making meaning from experience, finding patterns in chaos, and weaving the threads of consciousness into the rich tapestry of human understanding. And perhaps, in this same gentle space where your individual dreams unfold, you might glimpse something even more beautiful: the possibility that these two forms of intelligence, biological and artificial, might someday learn to dream together. In this peaceful moment, as your consciousness prepares for its nightly journey into rest, imagine a beautiful garden where two very different kinds of intelligence grow side by side, not as competitors struggling for the same soil, but as complementary forms of life that enhance each other's flourishing. This garden represents the emerging reality of our world, a place where human wisdom and artificial intelligence intertwine their roots, drawing from the same deep wells of curiosity and discovery, yet growing toward the light in their own unique ways. Picture yourself walking through this garden of minds in the gentle twilight of understanding. On one side, you see the organic beauty of human intelligence, trees that grow slowly but surely, their branches reaching in unexpected directions, their leaves changing color with the seasons of experience. These are the neural networks of biological learning, shaped by emotion, refined by mistake, strengthened by love and loss, and the countless small moments that make a life meaningful. Their growth is unpredictable, sometimes inefficient, but always deeply rooted in the rich soil of lived experience. On the other side of this garden, you observe the elegant precision of artificial intelligence, structures that rise with mathematical beauty, their forms determined by careful algorithms and vast datasets. These digital minds grow with stunning speed and consistency, their learning guided by objective functions and optimization principles that allow them to achieve remarkable feats of pattern recognition, language processing, and problem solving. Their growth is measurable, predictable, and impressively efficient. Yet as you wander deeper into this garden, you begin to notice something wonderful: the two types of intelligence are not growing in isolation. Their roots intertwine beneath the surface, sharing nutrients and information in ways that make both forms of learning stronger than they could ever be alone. Human creativity inspires new architectures for artificial intelligence. Machine precision amplifies human capabilities. The combination creates possibilities that neither could achieve in solitude. Consider how this partnership already enriches your daily life in ways both subtle and profound. When you ask a digital assistant a question, your human curiosity initiates the interaction, but artificial intelligence processes vast amounts of information to provide you with relevant answers. Your biological brain then takes these responses and integrates them with your existing knowledge, emotions, and context, creating understanding that is uniquely yours. The machine provides the speed and scope of information processing, while you provide the wisdom to know what questions are worth asking and how to use the answers meaningfully. In medical diagnosis, this collaboration reveals its profound potential. Human doctors bring years of training, emotional intelligence, and the ability to read subtle cues in patient behavior and presentation. Artificial intelligence contributes the ability to analyze thousands of medical images with consistent accuracy, to identify patterns across vast databases of cases, to process genetic information at scales impossible for human minds. Together, they create diagnostic capabilities that surpass what either could achieve alone, the machine's precision guided by human wisdom, the doctor's intuition enhanced by computational power. The same beautiful synergy emerges in creative endeavors. When artists collaborate with AI systems to generate music, visual art, or literature, the result is not human creativity replaced by machine generation, but rather a new form of collaborative creation. Your human aesthetic sense, your emotional intelligence, your understanding of meaning and beauty guide the process, while artificial intelligence provides new possibilities, unexpected combinations, and the ability to explore vast creative spaces that would take human minds lifetimes to navigate alone. In scientific research, this partnership accelerates discovery in ways that honor both forms of intelligence. Human scientists bring curiosity, intuition, and the ability to ask meaningful questions about natural phenomena. Artificial intelligence contributes the power to analyze enormous datasets, to identify subtle patterns, to test thousands of hypotheses simultaneously. The combination allows for discoveries that respect both the methodical rigor of scientific inquiry and the creative leaps of human insight. This collaboration is transforming education as well, creating learning environments where artificial intelligence personalizes instruction to match each student's unique learning style and pace, while human teachers provide the emotional support, inspiration, and wisdom that make learning truly meaningful. The machine tracks progress and identifies areas for improvement with precision, while the human educator understands the individual stories, struggles, and dreams that motivate each learner. Even in the realm of personal growth and self-understanding, this partnership offers remarkable possibilities. Artificial intelligence can help you track patterns in your behavior, identify trends in your emotional responses, and suggest evidence-based strategies for achieving your goals. But it's your human consciousness that decides which goals are worth pursuing, your emotional intelligence that provides the motivation to change, and your lived experience that transforms algorithmic suggestions into meaningful personal growth. The beauty of this collaboration lies not in the elimination of human limitations through artificial enhancement, but in the recognition that different types of intelligence offer different gifts to the world. Your biological mind brings consciousness, creativity, emotional depth, and the ability to find meaning in experience. Artificial minds bring processing power, consistency, pattern recognition, and the ability to work with data at scales that biological systems cannot match. As this partnership deepens, it challenges both humans and machines to become more than they could be independently. Working with artificial intelligence pushes you to clarify your uniquely human contributions, your creativity, your emotional intelligence, your ability to make ethical judgments and find meaning in complexity. Meanwhile, collaboration with human intelligence challenges artificial systems to develop more sophisticated approaches to learning, reasoning, and interaction. This symbiotic relationship is creating new forms of hybrid intelligence that combine the best aspects of both biological and artificial learning. In this emerging reality, the question is not whether humans or machines learn faster, but how the unique strengths of each type of intelligence can be combined to address challenges that neither could solve alone: climate change, disease, poverty, the exploration of space, the understanding of consciousness itself. The garden where both minds grow is still young, still developing, still discovering the full potential of this remarkable partnership. As artificial intelligence systems become more sophisticated and humans become more adept at collaboration with digital minds, new possibilities continue to emerge, possibilities that honor the irreplaceable value of human experience while embracing the transformative power of artificial intelligence. As you rest here in the quiet space between waking and sleeping, you are part of this unfolding story. Your human intelligence, with all its beautiful imperfections and profound capabilities, contributes to a future where biological and artificial minds work together to understand the universe, solve complex problems, and perhaps even explore the deepest questions about the nature of learning, consciousness, and intelligence itself. In this peaceful moment, you might find yourself wondering not whether artificial intelligence will surpass human learning, but rather how these two remarkable forms of intelligence will continue to grow together, each enriching the other, each contributing its unique gifts to the endless human quest for knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. In this gentle hour between day and night, as your mind settles into the peaceful rhythm of approaching sleep, you find yourself returning to the question that began this journey: who learns faster, the human brain or artificial intelligence? Yet now, after wandering through the landscapes of biological wonder and digital precision, the question itself seems to have transformed, like a river that changes as it flows toward the sea. What once appeared to be a simple race between two competitors now reveals itself as something far more profound and beautiful, an exploration of what it truly means to learn, to know, and to grow wise. Speed, you now understand, is perhaps the least important measure of learning's true value. When artificial intelligence processes millions of images in seconds, identifying patterns with mechanical precision, it demonstrates remarkable computational power. But when you spend an afternoon watching clouds drift across the sky, your slower biological processing creates something that no amount of digital speed can achieve: the felt experience of beauty, the connection between the movement of air and water and your own sense of peace, the integration of this moment with countless other moments of wonder that have shaped your understanding of what it means to be alive. The question of learning speed dissolves when you consider that the most important lessons in life cannot be rushed. The development of wisdom requires not just the accumulation of information, but the patient integration of knowledge with experience, understanding with emotion, facts with meaning. An artificial intelligence can learn to recognize the visual patterns of a smile in microseconds, but you spent years learning what a smile means, the joy it can convey, the comfort it can offer, the social bonds it can create, the way it can transform both the giver and receiver. Consider the profound difference between knowing about love and knowing love itself. An AI system can analyze millions of poems, songs, and stories about love, identifying common themes, linguistic patterns, and emotional expressions with perfect accuracy. It can generate new love poetry that follows established patterns, create music that evokes romantic feelings, even provide relationship advice based on statistical analysis of successful partnerships. Yet this comprehensive knowledge about love remains fundamentally different from the lived experience of loving someone, the way your heart races when they enter a room, the comfort of their presence during difficult times, the growth that comes from navigating conflicts together, the deep satisfaction of caring for another person's well-being. This distinction between knowing about and knowing reveals one of the most beautiful aspects of human learning. Your biological intelligence doesn't just collect information, it transforms information into understanding through the alchemy of lived experience. Every fact you learn becomes colored by your emotions, connected to your relationships, integrated into your personal story in ways that make it uniquely yours. The scientific principle you learned in school becomes meaningful when you use it to solve a real problem. The historical event you studied becomes relevant when you recognize its patterns in current events. The philosophical idea you encountered in a book becomes wisdom when you apply it to your own life's challenges. Artificial intelligence excels at what we might call surface learning, the rapid acquisition and processing of explicit information. But human learning specializes in deep learning of a different kind, the slow, patient development of implicit understanding that emerges from years of experience, reflection, and integration. This deep learning cannot be rushed, cannot be optimized, cannot be achieved through increased processing power. It requires time, patience, and the willingness to sit with uncertainty while understanding gradually unfolds. The question of who learns faster also assumes that learning has a finish line, a point at which the race ends and a winner can be declared. But true learning, the kind that leads to wisdom and understanding, has no ending. Your brain continues to learn and grow throughout your entire life, forming new neural connections even in old age, discovering new insights about yourself and the world around you with each passing year. The most profound learning often comes not from acquiring new information, but from seeing familiar things in new ways, from discovering unexpected connections between ideas you've carried for years. Artificial intelligence systems, despite their impressive capabilities, face a fundamental limitation that biological intelligence does not. They learn within the parameters of their programming, the boundaries of their training data, the constraints of their designed objectives. They can optimize within these bounds with remarkable efficiency, but they cannot transcend them in the way that human consciousness can. You possess the mysterious ability to question your own assumptions, to imagine possibilities that have never existed, to find meaning in experiences that fall outside any training dataset. The deepest truths about existence, questions of meaning, purpose, consciousness, love, mortality, beauty, cannot be learned quickly because they are not problems to be solved but mysteries to be lived. These truths unfold gradually through a lifetime of experience, reflection, and growth. They require not just intellectual understanding but emotional integration, not just knowledge but wisdom, not just information but transformation. Your human learning also possesses something that artificial intelligence has not achieved, the ability to learn from silence, from emptiness, from the spaces between experiences. In meditation, in quiet contemplation, in moments of simply being rather than doing, you access forms of understanding that cannot be captured in datasets or expressed in algorithms. This learning from stillness, from presence, from the direct experience of consciousness itself, represents perhaps the most uniquely human form of intelligence. The question of learning speed ultimately reveals itself as a category error, like asking whether music or painting is faster, or whether love or friendship is more efficient. Different types of intelligence serve different purposes, operate in different domains, and offer different gifts to the world. The speed of artificial processing serves human purposes, just as the depth of human understanding gives meaning to artificial capabilities. As you rest here in the gathering peace of night, you embody a form of learning that no machine can replicate, the ability to find meaning in mystery, to grow wise through experience, to transform information into understanding through the patient alchemy of consciousness. Your learning is not a race to be won but a journey to be savored, not a problem to be solved but a mystery to be lived. The question that seemed so important, who learns faster, has led you to a more profound recognition that the deepest forms of learning transcend speed entirely, existing in the realm of wisdom, meaning, and understanding that can only emerge through the patient unfolding of a conscious life. In this recognition lies perhaps the greatest lesson of all, that the most important questions are not those that demand quick answers, but those that invite lifelong exploration, opening doorways to ever deeper understanding of what it means to be human in a universe filled with both artificial intelligence and the irreplaceable miracle of conscious, feeling, dreaming life. In this final moment of our gentle journey together, as sleep's tender embrace draws closer and your breathing settles into the ancient rhythm of rest, you find yourself not with answers but with something far more precious, understanding. The question that began our exploration has dissolved like morning mist, revealing beneath it a landscape of wonder that stretches beyond the horizon of any simple comparison between human and artificial minds. You have discovered that the deepest truths about learning cannot be measured in speed or efficiency, but only felt in the quiet spaces where wisdom takes root and grows. As your consciousness prepares to release its hold on the day's thoughts, carry with you this gentle recognition: your human learning is not a competition to be won or lost, but a love letter written by evolution to the universe itself. Every neural connection in your brain, every memory that shapes your understanding, every insight that illuminates your path forward, all of these represent billions of years of biological creativity, the patient work of life learning how to learn, how to grow, how to find meaning in the vast cosmic dance of existence. Your brain, nestled safely in the cathedral of your skull, embodies a form of intelligence that emerges from the deepest wellsprings of care. You learned language not through statistical analysis but through the loving repetition of parents who delighted in your first words. You developed emotional intelligence not through algorithmic processing but through countless moments of connection, comfort, and shared understanding with others. You acquired wisdom not through data optimization but through the lived experience of joy and sorrow, success and failure, love and loss. This learning born of love creates a kind of understanding that artificial intelligence, for all its remarkable capabilities, cannot replicate. When you recognize the sadness in a friend's voice and offer comfort without being asked, you draw upon learning that extends far beyond pattern recognition. When you find beauty in a sunset and feel moved to share that moment with someone you care about, you demonstrate intelligence that emerges from the deep connections between perception, emotion, and relationship. When you choose kindness in a moment when efficiency might dictate otherwise, you embody wisdom that cannot be programmed or optimized. The artificial minds that share our world represent humanity's gift to itself, tools of remarkable sophistication that extend our capabilities, amplify our insights, and help us solve problems at scales previously unimaginable. These digital intelligences are not our competitors but our collaborators, not threats to human learning but powerful allies in the eternal quest for knowledge and understanding. They process information with speeds that make lightning seem slow, recognize patterns with precision that surpasses biological perception, and solve certain types of problems with an efficiency that biological intelligence cannot match. Yet in all their computational glory, these artificial minds remain instruments rather than singers, calculators rather than poets, processors rather than dreamers. They can simulate many aspects of intelligence, but they cannot experience the consciousness that gives intelligence its deepest meaning. They cannot feel the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of helping others, the profound peace that comes from understanding one's place in the vast web of existence. Tonight, as you surrender to sleep's gentle embrace, your brain will continue its ancient work of consolidation and integration, weaving today's experiences into the rich tapestry of your growing understanding. Your dreams will carry you into realms where logic gives way to symbol, where time becomes fluid, where the boundaries between self and world dissolve into narratives that serve purposes deeper than conscious thought can fathom. This biological intelligence, with all its inefficiencies and imperfections, represents something miraculous, matter learning to know itself, the universe developing consciousness, life discovering love. The question of who learns faster has revealed itself to be the wrong question entirely. The right question, perhaps, is not about speed but about depth, not about efficiency but about meaning, not about processing power but about the capacity to transform information into wisdom, knowledge into understanding, data into love. In this transformed perspective, human learning emerges not as a limitation to be overcome but as a gift to be celebrated, not as obsolete biological hardware but as the irreplaceable foundation of all that makes existence meaningful. Your learning is slow because it is thorough, inefficient because it is complete, imperfect because it is alive. Every mistake teaches you something that perfect performance could never convey. Every emotional response connects knowledge to meaning in ways that dispassionate analysis cannot achieve. Every moment of uncertainty opens spaces for growth that premature closure would eliminate. Your biological intelligence learns not just facts but wisdom, not just skills but character, not just information but the art of being human. As consciousness fades and the soft darkness of sleep welcomes you home, remember that you are not just a biological learning machine but a conscious being capable of transformation, growth, and the creation of meaning in a universe that might otherwise remain forever silent and unaware. Your thoughts, your feelings, your capacity to love and learn and dream, these are not accidents of evolution but its greatest achievements, not problems to be solved but mysteries to be lived. The collaboration between human and artificial intelligence represents the next chapter in the long story of learning itself. Just as your individual learning has been shaped by relationships with parents, teachers, friends, and loved ones, humanity's collective learning will be enhanced by partnership with the artificial minds we have created. This partnership honors both forms of intelligence, recognizing the unique gifts that each brings to the endless human quest for understanding, meaning, and wisdom. In your dreams tonight, you may find yourself flying through vast landscapes of possibility, solving problems with creative solutions that daylight logic could never devise, connecting with others in ways that transcend the boundaries of space and time. These dreams represent your learning intelligence at its most free and creative, unbound by the constraints of conscious thought, exploring possibilities that exist only in the realm of biological consciousness. Rest now in the knowledge that your learning is perfect exactly as it is, and not because it is without flaws, but because those very imperfections are what make it beautifully, irreplaceably human. You learn through love, grow through connection, and find wisdom through the patient integration of experience with understanding. This is your gift to the universe, and the universe's gift to you. As sleep carries you into its gentle depths, you take with you not the burden of competition with artificial minds, but the joy of partnership with them, not the anxiety of being surpassed, but the peace of knowing that human learning, in all its slow, emotional, mistake-filled glory, remains forever essential to the meaning and purpose of intelligence itself. Sweet dreams, conscious being. Your learning continues even now, in the mysterious realm where biology meets mystery, where neurons dream, and where the ancient art of being human unfolds in patterns too beautiful for any algorithm to fully comprehend.